Yeah. Okay, thanks, folks. So thanks heaps to Nate's company, Think Mill, for sponsoring tonight. A little bit of food. We'll get that organised a bit later, some nibblies and drinks, so much appreciated. I guess hand over to you now. You can.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for coming to my talk this evening. I'll give a brief intro myself, first of all. My name's Nathan. I'm a software developer at ThinkMill. I'm also an Orange local. I was born and raised here. I left in 2015 to study design at Western Sydney Uni, and then I joined ThinkMill in 2018 as a junior designer, and then moved into the development track from there. I've been working from home since March of 2020 and working from Orange since 2022 as well. So we're back to start a family. And here's that family. This is my wife, Carrie, my 4-month-old Sienna, and my 15-month-old Winnie. A little bit about ThinkMill. So we're a software development and design consultancy based in Sydney. We have 40 plus team members across Australia and New Zealand. I founded in 2013, so it's actually our 10th anniversary next week. We've been recognized internationally for our open source contributions. We also run popular tech meetups like React Sydney, sponsor SID.js as well, and we're regular speakers at local and international events such as this one. So lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm going to be speaking today about designing applications at scale. Effectively, we're going to be talking about what I do for work, an overview of design systems. So first, I'm going to start with the question: how do large organizations with multiple products worked on by several design and development teams achieve consistency and a great user experience at scale? The answer is design systems. So design system is a suite of design elements, guidelines, and standards that ensure visual and functional consistency in the creation of products or services. They're used by product managers, designers, developers, writers, and managers to promote a unified and user-friendly experience across multiple touch points. So at ThinkMill, we've worked on a bunch of design systems from startups to Atlassian and the Australian government. We've led, shaped, and contributed to over a dozen design systems in our 10 years. I'm going to be explaining design systems today while discussing what I've been working on for the last 2 years at the Australian Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. So the Export Service is a digital transformation initiative designed to replace inefficient paper-based systems with digital apps to help Aussie producers sell to overseas markets. So several teams were created to build various aspects of the Export Service, and it was imperative that there are measures in place to ensure each piece of the experience was consistent and met accessibility targets. So these teams worked on various aspects of multiple different products designed for farmers and producers who are exporting goods overseas, whether it be food, grain, or animals. On the ground inspectors who might visit the boats or the establishments to ensure that everything met Australian export standards, and also to the internal staff who are processing the applications in the back end as well. So to enable the development of all of these products, we created AgDS, or the Agriculture Design System. So a design system is comprised of a few elements: the design language, the principles and the guidelines of what it looks like to build something for this organization, a library of components, templates, and patterns, and a community of users and contributors to the design system. So I'll go through each of these points. First one is a design language. You may have an idea about what I mean by design language. I'll throw up this slide. This is a branding design language for, you probably know who this is already. I don't even have to point out the logo mark in the bottom right corner for you to know that is definitely Optus. This is the visual feel of the organization. It's also, design language can also be seen in product design as well. I just want to throw this up there because I'm a massive car guy, but basically a design language can contain elements that are consistent across multiple product lines, including industrial design, such as the double kidney grille in the BMW. And design language can be seen in software as well. So this is I'll take a tangent off agriculture for a moment. This is some work that we worked on with Reckon. So Reckon are a financial software company based in Sydney. They've been around for a long time. They've been around since the days where you'd procure your accounting software, and that would arrive to you on a disk. You'd install that onto your computer, and that was the computer with your accounting software on it, and you had to keep that very, very safe. Since then, the cloud has come in, so they've had They have cloud solutions, but they brought in ThinkMill. We came in to help them form the new generation of their product line. So a suite of apps built for the mobile businesses of today. So this is a couple of app store screenshots for the invoicing app, Reckon Invoices. So you create your invoices, send to customers, receive payments, etc. We also built a payroll app, Reckon Payroll. We can set up your employees. You can pay them. You can track their leave. It's got all the government reporting built in. There's also a web experience as well, so web and mobile. Now, if you forget about the vibrant colored backgrounds, these apps are built using the same components, the same toolkit. All the buttons and the icons, the badges, the typography, they're all from the same library. We also used that same library to build an employee experience. So if an employer did a pay run and paid your employees, the employee could open up their app, Reckon Mate, and they can see their pay slips. They can do their expenses and see their leave entitlements, etc. And so we built a design language, a design system for Reckon called Balance, a counting pun for you, to enable the building of the mobile applications as well as the web apps as well. Now, the design language for the export service is very pared back. It's simple and easy to understand. That's by design. It's built for a variety of experience levels with computers, as well as for a variety of usability needs as well. And I'll talk a bit more about that after. So quick drink. All right. Part 2. A design system includes a component library. So the component library, they're kind of like the Lego blocks that make up an application. You can assemble them in a design tool or in code. These are generic components for building things like forms and content pages. They're built in Figma, which is the tool of choice for UI designers, and it's also built in React, which is a user interface library for code in JavaScript, built by Facebook actually, which means it's the best thing to come out of Facebook. A couple of practical examples of what implementing the components looks like. The developer would import this into their file. This is a button component, so they import a button. This button, we've designed it with a few different variants. This is the primary button. It has an icon, it has a label. So that's probably the most simple version of a component we've got. It is a slightly more complex version. Here's a composition with a form stack, which ensures consistent spacing between each of the different elements. We have a text input with a few different props on that. We have a button group with a primary and a secondary button. We also, up from the micro layer of the components, we also have a suite of templates as well. Here's a multi-step form. So if you're registering your business with the government, or if you're processing an intent to export some livestock, you'll probably see our multi-step form templates. We have a timeline, a progress indicator on the left that shows you where you are in the process of building a form. And each of the pages are very simple. There's only ever a couple of inputs on each page, and we have a suite of templates, some for forms, some for content pages. We also are working on some for more dense dashboards for the internal staff who are reviewing the applications, etc. And then we have some design patterns as well. So what does it look like when a table is loading? If that was a GIF, that'd be pulsing, but you get the idea. Or what it looks like to filter data. So we have a few patterns for table filtering as well. Now, a brief word on accessibility. Accessibility is something that's really at the heart for not only for ThinkMill, but also with the Department of Agriculture as well. It's not like if your customer at Optus has a bad experience, they could like to go elsewhere. But unless you want to move the country, you don't really have a choice of provider with the government. So we need to make sure, and typically when you're interacting with the government as well, it's always for something important. It's something that you have to do. So we want to make sure that people who have, no matter what their needs are, they're able to achieve what they need to. So, for instance, we've provided experiences, or we've tested for people who have partial or full vision impairment, people who are colorblind or deaf, have a physical or motor skill impairment, cognitively divergent, or just have a different experience level with computers as well. So when we design anything, whether it be a component or a template, we ensure that screen readers can describe it clearly. Screen reader is the software that's inbuilt to your computer. You can turn it on if you have vision difficulties, and it will audibly, as you tab around the screen reader will describe what it's seeing, what functions you can do with that. So we ensure that screen reader support is right up there. We ensure that we build everything with valid HTML, and we use the right properties to describe the elements as well. We ensure every element has correct color contrast, so anyone with low vision can discern text and foreground elements from backgrounds, and also not using color alone to convey meaning. So if you imagine a red banner or a green banner to denote some sort of error state, we ensure that we use more than just color, because if you're colorblind, you won't be able to see the intent from that message. So one of the highlights of this project has been an accessibility audit. So we engaged with a third-party consultant, Intopia. They're an accessibility expert, to audit our component library, and also to enable user testing as well. So actually we're able to observe people with who are totally vision impaired, or people who couldn't use their arms at all, and we're actually looking at a camera and using facial expressions to move a cursor around. It was pretty amazing to see. So we had that audit, and we're very proud that they denoted us as an exemplary example of an accessible component library, which was great. And actually, with their other clients, they actually use us because it's open source. They use us as an example, say this is how you do it right with building for accessibility. A design system includes a community of users. So design systems, they're effectively products of their own, but they're built to serve other products. So like any product, you want to ensure that your users' needs, you want to understand your users' needs and foster relationships with them. So it's important to create a dialogue with your users and get feedback or encourage contributions to the system. A good design team regularly is in discussion with consumers to build a picture of their needs, so they can be building valuable enhancements to the design system, creating value that way. The individual product teams in the organization could be siloed from each other, so they have their own backlogs, their own plans, their own goals for sprints or for quarters. So what a design system does is it centralizes design practices, enables that collaboration, overall raises the standard of design for the whole department. So a design system, they'll enable collaboration a few ways. We have internal chat channels. So if people are having design problems, they can go into contact with a designer or a developer in the design system team to get feedback on how to solve design problems. We also have fortnightly shareback sessions called guilds. We have Design Guild and Tech Guild, and people can share back what they've been working on. And we also have design system office hours as well. So every week there'll be a session. People can, rather than setting a meeting, we're on a remote team, a distributed team. So rather than setting meetings, there's a weekly session. People can just drop in and again ask their design questions and drop out as they need. That's been really valuable to build that community and get people excited about the design system and using it, and getting feedback that way as well. Like I said before, a key part of the community building aspect of the design system is the fact that it's all open source. So what I mean by that is all of the code for the component library, documentation site is all open source. It's all published on GitHub. It's all public access. So I'll show you how to take a look at that in a moment if you like. That allows people to contribute to the design system, and it actually also enables other government departments to share their code. So we've had other government departments get in contact to use the design system as well.
Are you telling me that I could go and regenerate an exact lookalike of the Department of Agriculture website, the look, the feel, the design language, is all open source.
Yep, in theory, depending on your skill level, but yes.
Let's assume I'm extremely skilled.
Yeah.
But I mean, surely there's an intellectual property issue. Like, I mean, the government would not release its entire look feel for someone to create a complete, very credible looking phishing site that looks just like the genuine. I mean, isn't there an issue there?
Short answer is no. I can try and answer that for you afterwards. Yeah, I've some questions at the end, but effectively, there's no business domain logic in the design system. There's nothing related to how applications are, like applications to register important and sensitive information. There's no data being stored in the design system. It's purely the Lego blocks used to assemble these websites. Yeah, and you can create a pretty pretty credible looking phishing scam without doing any of this as well. With that, I might just show a quick demo of the documentation site. I think that might, yeah, just to set the picture a little bit more. So I'm just going to Google agriculture design system. So you can play along at home. But yes, we get pretty good SEO as well, which we're very proud of. Right, so this is the design system website. So all of the internal teams use this. It's also very, as you've seen, it's very accessible to get into it as well. A couple of notes that I'll show you. We have a schema of design tokens. So, for instance, how we use color is very well thought out in the system. We describe what the text colors are, for instance, how they're used, but the different types of background colors. We don't have red or green or blue. We have success, error, and info because that denotes the intent of the colors and how they're used in the system. And there's also this is always very fun to play with, but there is a dark mode as well. And people really get excited by seeing stuff like that usually. Right, what else have I got there? So we got you've seen the component library. So I'll just show a page if I can type page alert as an example. So each of the components are thoroughly documented. We have do's and don'ts on each of the components. We describe, for instance, the toned alerts when you should see something like this. Notice we have the different icons as well. I was talking about using color alone before to, so if you were colorblind, you would see the difference between an error and a success state. Won't labor on this for too long, but we do have patterns for, let's say filtering, or let's go loading in empty states. So what it looks like to have a loading state. There's that GIF I was promising you before. Each of these is also they're live examples as well, so they're being rendered in space, and you can a developer could copy the code as well. Error states, etc. So we've thought about and explained here, yeah, how to do those, and then it's our suite of templates as well. So yeah, feel free to take a look around through that. You know how to Google it now. I want to stop sharing. Actually, am I showing that browser window? Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll stop sharing that. Okay, and I'm back to my slides now. Not yet? Sure. Okay. I'm on the 2. Okay, that's all good. Brilliant. Cool. All right, so quick word on who built the design system. So the DS team, like the A team, just not quite as jacked. A design system team requires a mix of unique skill sets. So we have a product manager, we have interaction designers, front-end developers, and my personal favorite, the design engineers, who kind of bridge both the design and the development space. We have a mix of full and part-time practitioners. So some people might be part-time on product teams as well. They fulfill a variety of responsibilities like designing or building components, writing documentation, accessibility testing, providing design support, running the community engagement initiatives, surveying users for needs, or generally planning our sprints and running managing a backlog of work. All right. So I just wanted to end on some key success points. So first of all, the AgDS is already powering the export service portal. So if you go to exports to agriculture, you actually see it being used in the real world. It's actually also been used by other government departments around Australia as well, which is great. Home Affairs, I believe, and the Northern Territory government also expressed interest as well. We've also enabled collaboration across siloed teams, which we're very proud of. So a lot of teams who don't have their own backlogs and planning and generally don't talk to each other, the design system works to enable that collaboration. We also enabled a department rebrand. So interesting story, when the Labor government came into power, or before the election, we were actually the Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment. And then when Labor came in, we became Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. I always get that around the wrong way. And then there was Environment, they got split off. There was Department of Climate Change created as well. So people, the teams that were already using the design system, that was just an update, a software update effectively to ingest that new logo, and actually prompted other teams to start using the design system as well. So that was good. And like I said before, the biggest highlight for us was to have someone else who is a real expert in the accessibility space call us an exemplary accessible component library as well. And they told all their friends about us. Alrighty, that just about does it for me. Are there any other questions?
So is it a component library or is it built on a...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, is it just a component library or is it built on a UI framework? Specifically, do you have like support for Flexbox or CSS Grid to automatically resize? Now, I worked with component libraries before, and it's just a library, and you still need to go and use Bootstrap to go and. But this is everything, is it?
Yeah. So at the I guess the primary touch point is the component library. It's built using React.js. And it's all CSS as well. So there's Flexbox and all those things that you mentioned as well. That's all part of the system. But on top of that as well, there's all the design principles, which I didn't show in my demo, but we've got extensive documentation about what it looks like to build something with AgDS.
So I assume you have a core library and then you fork it or kind of branch it for other clients. But do you keep that up to date? Like, do you kind of push revisions, like to changes to the core library, maybe, I don't know, changes to iOS dark mode or something that you want to roll out? Is there that?
We don't, to your question, ThinkMill doesn't have a core library that all these other design systems are based off. They're all independently built and ran. We actually make some open source libraries that that does layers some of the foundation of them, but each of the libraries we worked on are for the most part independent of each other.
Right. Okay. So you don't have a core library that is. I mean, you'll share some components, surely. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we share ideas, and like a lot of the design systems we worked on are open source, and we're always, the web development 10 years ago is very different to what it is now. So there's always new things, and it will be more of a hindrance to have one central ThinkMill library that is always kept up to date. We're always filling with stuff, and we're always wanting to try the new thing.
And these components, are they just for web or mobile too?
So in the case of agriculture, there's it's just web.
Yeah.
For Reckon, which I spoke about before, there's a core design language of which we call Balance, and then Balance has a React implementation as well as a React Native. So it's actually very similar type of, like, writing React Native is very similar to running regular React, but you run it through a different compiler and it spits out an Android app and an iOS app.
Okay. And my final question: have you done any design for wearables like an Apple Watch or?
Not personally,
Nice.
but I think I've fiddled with a couple of
Right.
apps just for fun before. We did have some one of our guys a couple of weeks ago was fiddling with doing VR. So he was building there's this I won't give him free marketing, but there's a service that we use to basically build Lego characters inspired by each of the team members. And the website wasn't very great. So he actually did a concept for building a new version where it was a 3D model in the browser. And it was like, well, what if I took that and put it into the Apple Vision Pro headset and to Oculus? And he actually got a working prototype. We didn't have the headset yet, but it was doing it in the simulator. And all of this and those libraries and that code was able to be shared between web, iPhone, and VR systems. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you're just talking about the design language there. So it actually is a language that helps to create the design elements.
Yeah.
And that gets compiled down into other frameworks and what have you.
Essentially, yeah. I didn't labor on that part too much, but a really great thing about design systems is the shared handoff between designers and developers. So what tends to happen without design systems is a designer will, draw boxes and draw or create buttons and shapes, and a developer has to translate that. So I showed a moment ago the button with the variant primary and secondary. Yep. So the same components effectively are built in Figma and Figma and code. And, a designer drags something and says that's a primary button, and a developer also calls that same thing a primary button as well. So that makes the handoff a lot easier, a lot smoother.
Yep. You were saying with the Recon one, you created a language called Balance or whatever.
Yep.
So you actually make a specific language for each product?
Not a coding language per se, but just a
so it's more like a library of things based on your
the language is effectively what things are called. So what do we call a badge? What do we call a button? So creating a shared vocabulary in all those elements between design and development. Yeah. But it's all in terms of coding language. It's all like JavaScript and React and HTML, all that kind of all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Two online. Do you want to read them out?
Hey, Eric, if you want to unmute, you can ask your question. We can't hear you. Oh, because we're on the wrong screen.
Did I never?
Yeah.
Or through your laptop?
Hang on, sorry, Eric. We'll just pick you on. Yeah, kind of the I'll read Lawrence's out first, and then I'll get this audio sorted out.
Okay.
Lawrence, can component libraries be integrated into online reporting and business analytics systems such as Power BI?
In theory, yes. That depends. Yes. That depends on the capabilities of things like Power BI. I have heard of people, spending a bunch of time creating really nice Power BI dashboards. They're not necessarily compatible with React, but they might be compatible with like CSS and different styling frameworks as well. But in theory, yes.
Okay. Do you want to try again, Eric? See if we can hear you.
I do.
Hey, we got you. Go.
You mentioned Figma at the start.
Yeah.
Assume you know that Adobe's buying them out, and that seems to be moving to two trains of thought over it. Either Adobe's going to ruin the software, or they're going to pump it full of AI and all their own stuff, and I guess kind of be the next Squarespace to an extent, where it wipes out a lot of businesses that did design and stuff like that. Any thoughts, concerns?
Yeah, I guess when we originally read on the merger or the buyout, that there was a few jokes like that being thrown around. I will say that recently with the investment, they've developed a lot of really cool features like the design tokens and various things like that. So far so good. I don't pay for the licenses, so I don't think they've necessarily upped the price or anything like that yet, or forced you to have a Creative Cloud subscription. I think if they did that, they would destroy their business and their customers. But yeah, so far so good, surprisingly.
Okay, good to hear. So,
Alan first. Pass it over to
Thanks, Dave. I suppose I'm no techie, just a disclaimer, just in terms of the AI technology, what's you think Meals or future we focus on that, given that I work for the for the federal government, and last week I had a discussion about AI, like in terms of making the customer experience superior, and between us, I got pretty shut down pretty quickly because the government's pretty clear not to allow that AI technology into. Just wondering what ThinkMill is going to do in the future.
ThinkMill is running open-minded on AI. We don't have we have people that are experimenting with it, like what it could look like to integrate something like that into various products or systems, but nothing tangible at this point. But yeah, we're definitely remaining open-minded, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have customers and clients who are interested in that space as well. Yeah, that's all I can say at this point.
Thanks, Nath.
No, it's really a similar question. It's still my thunder, but around generative AI, get you thinking. You've already made a lot of these very deliberate design decisions about these components, and you could feed that into AI and say, go and build me a website, and that would go and automate some and just generate the content and put in. It makes a lot of sense, I think, to have on brand.
Yeah, I guess I can say that the majority of problems that, as consultants, the majority of problems that we're there to solve, most of the time are more organizational problems or people problems than technology. Technology is certainly a factor of it, and that there's plenty, not even AI, but that there's plenty of sort of white label component libraries out there that people can adopt. But I mean, rarely for large organizations, those white label systems are great for startups or for getting something up and running. But for large organizations, typically they need elements that are more opinionated, that are or templates that solve problems for their specific business needs. So yeah, we're not too worried about our jobs at the moment.
One last question. I mean, the components you shared with us are largely static. Do you have any more interactive ones, like sliders and date pickers? And
for sure. I can show you if you like, but yes, we have like a date picker that you click on the little icon, and it has a little fly out, and there's a calendar, and you can navigate and we have accordions and modals as well. So and the accessibility challenges of modals in particular are really interesting and complex. And so, we spend a bunch of time laboring over what an accessible implementation of a modal looks like.
And also the experience on mobile is completely different, because you can't click, right? I mean, you can,
for sure.
You can't hover, should I say?
Yeah, exactly. There's some components we've talked about that that we haven't implemented them, but there are some patterns that, such as a tooltip, you hover over something and then a little flat message comes out from it. Well, you can't hover anything on a mobile device. So, a design system team, on top of building value and building components, you also need to have an idea of what not to do as well, and develop those design principles to inform direction. Yeah.
Cool.
Hi, I'm curious as to what trade-offs you've seen with having a design system that enables you to move to high fidelity so quickly. When we're thinking about, say, a government service, going to the fundamentals about what makes a service effective. And if you've got design teams being able to move to high fidelity so quickly in the design process, what kind of trade-offs have you seen from that?
Yeah, sure. There are certainly growing pains. I'll answer the question I think you're asking. Once you've got the critical mass of a design system and you've got templates that are tried and tested, then you know, product teams are able to use those templates or contribute new ones. But you know, you need the initial stage where you're building a design system. You need to be informed by product and understand what their needs to build something like that. And if you're building those things in parallel, there is trade-offs in terms of velocity to, you know, build something and design something right, and making sure that it's done in a systematic way rather than building a one-off prototype or building a standalone product that doesn't necessarily need a design system.
In contrast, the trade-offs that I've seen is that going to high fidelity really quickly means that the feedback that you get, whether it's from users or other stakeholders in your organization, end up just kind of fiddling around the edges, where the feedback that you're after is whether this is meeting the needs as opposed to does this look right?
Right.
And what the trade-offs around going to high fidelity very quickly, whether it's stakeholders or customers, they quickly go to, does this look right?
Yeah.
Yes. Or I'll just kind of adjust things on the page a little bit as opposed to thinking about, does this actually meet my needs?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting challenge that the benefits that you have of being able to move to high fidelity quickly versus stripping that back and making sure that the service is actually as effective as it needs to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably less of a question, more of a comment. And
You're obviously from Focus.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, brilliant.
Oh, sorry, not from Focus, but I've had some experience there.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right, we'll chat afterwards then. That's cool. Yeah, I guess I think our core clientele at the moment is you know, large corporate entities that have a suite of existing products and or existing systems as well. And a lot of the time, you know, you're not just fighting design and finding, I guess, like what looks right, but also, you know, we've got tech debt of 30-year-old accounting software or something like that as well. Yeah. Cool.
Is it the staff at the Department of Ag using your design system and building their pages, or does ThinkMill also do that?
In the case of ag, they are the staff of agriculture, and agriculture have a mix of contractors and full-time staff as well. But yeah, our work as ThinkMill is just on the design system front.
And have you had any external contributors to your open source repos yet?
We've had a lot of interest. We've had people who I didn't talk about this either, but the design language I was speaking about was actually very inspired by the former Australian government design system. It was run by the DTA. That got defunded and turned to a community-driven model. And it is also I'll say a 10-year-old tech stack. And so we wanted to take that, the idea, because a lot of people love that design system. So we wanted to take what that stood for in the design language and the thinking and the investment behind that, but re-implement it in modern React. And yeah, we've had some really good feedback from people that used to work on that system as well. Yeah.
Cool. Any more? Thank you, Nathan.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. That was actually good. So thank you, Baron. Thank you for the online folks. So for the new guys, hang around for a bit. There's networking opportunities. Maybe have a chat to someone you haven't met before. So say good day. Matt's hanging around. You can have an NBN chat and Starlink chat. Sorry.
Is it still called Starlink? It's not called X-Link or anything like that?
No. It's been a little bit yeah. So good. So thank you folks for coming. Next meetup is the end of September. For those that don't know, we're last Tuesday of the month. I'm trying to organize a robotics conversation, but I'm just having trouble trying to line some key people up. So we might bump that to October. So if anybody's got a talk that they want to, you've seen kind of, we we've covered everything from rockets to electric cars to software development to Amazon AI. So if you've got something you want to have a chat about, we try and stay reasonably tech focused. Give us a shout. So we mostly live stream them. So let us know. We always do a hybrid sort of event to get across to people in the community who can't make it here. So thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Much thanks to Think Mill for drinks and food for tonight. The Lord Anson for providing the venue. We couldn't do it without their support. And Petri for support with the AF meetup group. So thank you guys.
Great. Thank you.